All right, all right. Also, I would like to uh, share that was our brother Edward, but also we want to introduce our brother that's been on here before, Mr. Daniel Jones. Please share a little bit by yourself, who you are.
Good afternoon, good evening. Hey, I'm happy to be here, man. I'm excited. We at a time and a place that this is needed. This discussion is needed so bad. I'm your inspirational lifestyle leader. So what I do is I motivate, I inspire. I work with leaders. I work with married couples. I work with families. Whatever situation you're in, if you're stagnant, if you're procrastinating, I inspire, I motivate, I give you tools, strategies to take action. Make that first step to go. A lot of times we just get stuck in a rut sometimes, and you need a few nuggets here and there just to get you going. And so that's what I do, man. I've been in the training department I've been working with leaders, managing training for a little over 10 years. I've been married for 15. I have 3 children, born and raised South Side, South Suburb, Chicago, Harvey, Illinois. So, so can any good thing come out of Harvey? Yes, because I made it out and I'm doing wonderful. I'm successful in my own right, and so I'm enjoying life, man. But this segment is so needed. So I'm looking forward to the discussion with you brothers. It's good when like-minded people can come together, man, discuss things and get this thing moving forward and dispel these myths. Because Black men, we are awesome. We all that. We're created in God's image. I'm telling you. And so some people may fear that, but hey, we here. We ain't going nowhere. We here. So let's get it.
That's wonderful, bro. A little bit about my brother Daniel here. He was on our last segment about marriage ministry segment where we talked about marriages. We look into the marriage and find out how we can educate people about marriage struggles, things that they go through, things that from a man's perspective. So that's what we want to highlight: a man's perspective of marriage through his eyes. Last but not least, we want to talk to our Mr. Young, Mr. Tyhimbo Young. This is a young man that I grew up with off my block. So I want to represent. Tell us about yourself, who you are, where you from.
Yes, sir, my brother. First of all, I'm humbled by the invitation. And, man, glad to be amongst brothers so that we can have this clear brotherhood layout, brotherhood smoke to clear the air about some things that we need to talk about as a community. But for me, man, I'm an educator of 17 years now, love educating youth, love speaking life into young Black men, young Black children for that matter, all over. And that's just been my path, man. Education has really given me a great opportunity to impact some lives early on. I've taught grammar school and high school. I'm back in grammar school now. And it's just allowed me to have a vantage point in terms of trying to speak life into and project positivity into into young people who eventually grow into men, eventually grow into heads of household. So, man, I'm excited, man, about the opportunity. Glad to be amongst some strong brothers from what I hear. And, man, let's get into it.
Excellent, excellent. I appreciate you all coming on as well. Just want to share a little bit about myself and how this has affected me in my life. I went to a Chicago school, high school. That's where I'm from, Chicago. Corliss. I don't know if you all are familiar with Corliss, but not one of the best schools in Chicago. And not only that, the stereotype that was placed on me is when I was in school, I was one of the Black or one of the only men in my class, one guys in class. So everybody else was either ditching school, out serving, selling drugs, whatever, or gangbanging. So it was looked at me like I'm the only kid in class that either I'm different from the rest of them, that stereotype that I should be doing what they're doing. Before that, the stereotype placed on me was I moved into a neighborhood that my parents was able to afford a nice neighborhood, a nice house in a nice neighborhood. So I was looked at like either we must get some money or we fell into some money. So the stereotype that we're not like everyone else because we must have money, more money than everybody else. So then I moved from a neighborhood that I was in poverty. So I grew up playing in a vacant lot, a dirt vacant lot, and that was just the average every day. So that was a stereotype that was placed to me that everybody in the neighborhood was either poor, living in poverty, living on welfare. So through different parts of my life, I've seen different myths, different stereotypes that was placed to me. And now I'm going to ask you guys to share some of your life experience and what you've been through. We'll start with Mr. Jones, Mr. Daniel. Tell us about some of the myths and stories that you've seen growing up, some of the things that's been placed on you as a Black man.
Well, me being a public speaker, motivational speaker, you know, so a lot of the myths was just the way we talk. You know, we thought in order to get somewhere in corporate America to be looked at, you know, picked out, that you had to be able to speak a certain way. You know, it's funny because in school or in college, I went to Western Illinois University, you know, a diverse school. And my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, she knew every time I was talking to a professor. Well, how do you know I'm talking to a professor? See, your voice changed. You sound different. Because, of course, they lead us to believe in order for you to be on a certain platform, for you to be able to get this certain job that you're seeking, that you have to talk a certain way, you know, so-called proper English. You know, so what really is proper English, right? You know, we don't have that here in America. You know, if anybody speaks proper English, it may be over there in England somewhere, you know, but that was one of the myths and stereotypes, you know, me being an African-American Black man, you know, we thought or we felt growing up that in order for you to get somewhere, you know, I think about how they always talked about Michael Jordan. You know, oh, he speaks so well. He speaks so well. You know, what does that mean? He speaks so well. You know, if you can speak English, you know, that's all that matters. People understand you. You can talk clear. That's all that matters. You should have to sound or speak a certain way. You know, if we get you know, hyped up or energized or say the word ain't, you know, or something like that, you know, if you're clear, you can project, they understand what you're saying, that's all that matters. You're getting the point across, you know, and so those are some of the, you know, one of the stereotypes, you know, that I had to kind of get over, you know, and get past, like, look, I'm going to be me. You know, I know how God made me. I know who he has created me to be. So I cannot be like somebody else, you know, when I'm talking. I have to be me. Yes, you want to yes, you want to learn the language. No, you want to understand what you're saying, you know, the basic English, you know, vocabulary. But other than that, how you sound, you know, as long as you're clear, people can understand what you're saying. That's what matters. So that's one of the things I had to that I dealt with as far as just how we speak. You know, we'll change in a minute trying to please non-blacks. You know, we'll change in a minute, but man, no, I'm gonna be me.
I want to open this up for anybody. If anyone has anything they want to share, say
I got a couple.
the same topic he says, feel free to jump in whatever you want. This is
I got a couple. I got a couple of them. First one, growing up in Chicago on the South Side, is like you're either gonna be dead by 18 or in jail. So like that pretty much, and like me and my friends would sit there and talk about it. It'd be like, I'm glad to be 18. I'm glad to make it to 18. I'm glad to make it to 21 because we see so many of our friends that didn't make it. And so that was a stereotype. Like, hey, I celebrate something about me. I celebrate my birthday. I just turned 36. I celebrate the mess out of my birthday and people don't really understand it unless you grew up how we did. Like it's not promised. It's not promised. So I'm gonna live every birthday like, you know, like I'm gonna enjoy it. It's my day. So it was something that stereotype of dying young or going to jail. As I got older, college, the stereotype was that the only way you're going to college if you're an athlete, or you know, you just got like you're an athlete. Like I'm a black tall man, like, and I do love basketball, but I didn't. That wasn't my like passion. So that wasn't my ticket out. You know, so when I went to Denison University, like this private white institution, the PWI up in Ohio. Everybody thought I played ball. And so that was a stereotype. It was like, no, I got a leadership scholarship through this Posse Foundation, the scholarship organization in Chicago. And I got a leadership scholarship and they paid for it full term to go to the school I've never heard of before in the middle of nowhere with nothing but white people. So I didn't even know how to transition to because I've never even seen that many white people in my life. So to transition into that was definitely it was tough. it was tough. So that stereotype was very hard. It was very hard. You would even fight back on it because like I'm not smart enough to be here because I'm black and I'm tall, so I must play sports. And so that was just a negative stereotype going out. And then after that it was you're really not gonna get a job going back to Chicago because you're black and all you got is a bachelor's degree. So it was constantly over life. You just having a bachelor's degree now is pretty much like a high school diploma, as far as the job market is going on. So it was like, oh, you just got a bachelor's degree, okay, you can go get a temp job or something. It's like I got all this so-called education and all this promise of a job and all this opportunity of making it out the hood, and then I come right back even with the degree, and I feel like I'm in a worse situation because I lost 4 years.
That's true.
So those are just some stereotypes that you get that I've had personally. So
how was it telling people that when you get to college and you tell them what you actually your purpose for being there? It's not anything about any athletic ability, but just sharing with them like, no, I'm here for academics. Just when they look at you and say that, how did that impact you?
Oh, really?
No,
really?
That's a question, man.
Oh.
That's what she
no,
said.
that's how it is. Like, oh, really? I didn't know. Oh, really? So it's something you just play off. Like it'll be like most of my like interaction in college with like white people or other races, it would be like at a party. So at a party, you're more loose, you're more apt to open up the conversation. So it would be like, oh, do you play sports? Is that why you're here? Like, how did you get here? And even the scholarship organization that I got, that became a stereotype because it's like, oh, they just get hood kids to come to school. So that became a stereotype. Like, oh, you got to be a posse if you're here. So that became, so just anytime, and I hate that. It's like if we get an opportunity to get elevated and get advanced and get on an equal playing field, it's like, oh, you didn't deserve it. You only got it because of this, or affirmative action, or this, or that. And it was like,
okay, man,
you're right about that.
What you got to say, Ty? What you got?
Yeah, man, I guess the major myth that I've always looked at and chuckled at is that black men are lazy, and it's so hilarious because we not only built the country, but we built the wealth of the country. So it insults you that you like. So we're lazy. Every invention we came up with, you took. When you look at, there's a poem called "There Were No Black People," and it's a mother explaining to her child of all the inventions that black folk created, right? And when you look at that list, and that's just a small list, you start to wonder, what did everybody else do? Because the black man, I mean, from the traffic light to everything else, the greatest trick they ever pulled on us was us not realizing our greatness. See, once you define yourself and you understand who you are, when somebody calls your culture a black man lazy, you begin to dismantle them easily. You begin to ask them simple questions like, do you understand who built the White House? Do you understand the 4 families or 5 families that brought the wealth to the United States? That money was made off the backs of black folk. Do you understand that? So that whole myth has always been hilarious to me because it seems like to me that the world has been at war with the black man for so long. Like, you lazy, but you're lazy, but in every section of history, we've been contributors, from fighting wars, all those things that never has gotten our just due. So for me, it has always been trying to, it has always been a journey to give a strong definition of self first. Because I feel like when you understand who you are, nobody can give you a definition of you. And that has helped me a great deal. I was blessed to have somebody speak in life early on. Well, my self-esteem was very strong. So I could, and I studied a lot of history. So I knew who our people were, and I knew from what lineages I was cut from. So that has been the largest myth for me, man, is that the other one is this: the black men don't love their children.
I was going to speak on that. I'm going to come behind you on that one.
Go ahead.
Come behind you.
real. It's like, are you sister? If you go, I don't care where in the United States, what city you go to, if there was a project there or public housing there, the story is the same. Early on, women could establish the household, and the only thing they couldn't do, they could get finance, they could get medical costs for their children, but they couldn't have a man in the house. So systematically pulling the black man away from his children. Now, are there some of us that need to do some introspection to get better? No doubt about that. But society has, at every punch and pull, pulled us away from our children. Black men love their children. Whether they've been in prison, whatever the thing is, they speak about their children. So those two things, that we're lazy and that we don't value our children, are the two that really I chuckle at, because I know black men, strong black men who work hard and who also value their children.
Let me tell you something, man.
Oh, go ahead. I'm going to pick it up on that.
They say we don't take care of our kids. I know a whole slew of brothers that take care of all their kids.
Right.
By different baby mamas, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
They take care of their children.
Yes.
Myself, I have 3 kids. 2 by my wife, 1 not by my wife. Right? I take care of mine. Since birth, I've been taking care of mine. Matter of fact, here's a funny story for you. When I knew it was mine, I filed child support on myself. I wanted to make sure that he was taken care of. Child support kept getting wrong.
Me too.
They kept giving me the paperwork saying I'm a custodial, and the other parent is the non. I kept saying, no, I'm the non-custodial. They couldn't get it right because they never had someone file child support on themselves, a black man. But I wanted to make sure I took care of mine. Another thing, I don't hang with people who don't take care of their kids.
Talk about it.
All my friends take care of theirs. So when they're talking about black men don't take care of their kids, no. You got a whole nation full of black men being fathers and dads to their kids.
Right.
I think the question we have to ask is, who's perpetuating that narrative that black men don't take care of their kids?
I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
No, so I was just saying, like, so we have, media, we have music, we have television, you have movies, you have all this negative stereotype that's being out there. They're like, yo, black men don't take care of their kids, man. In actuality, who's pushing that narrative? And that's the issue. Like you talk about even welfare. I was definitely gonna touch on that. When you talk about the black man not even being allowed to be in a home for them to get the money that they need. So you're not advocating to have a strong marriage. You're not advocating for like the lineage of a black man being there. Even the statistics behind black men being at home, how that lowers crime rates in black homes. So these things are being pushed out there. And go ahead, go ahead.
No, bro, you are, man, you are on it. You hit it so hard, man, but you're right. Well, systematically, in order to defeat a giant, they got to go at you several ways. They have to take away your value. And so in that instance, in those housing projects, when the man wasn't allowed, they took away value, okay? When in those instances where in the media, movies that are shown, all the news stories that are shown, that are all about this menacing black man who doesn't take care of his children, uneducated, don't want to work, just want to live off society. Yeah, that's pushed so that not only systematically they're doing it, but now, imaging wise, everybody that meets you has so many preconceived notions about who you are based on what society has pushed out. Now, I'll say this to you. You're right about asking the question of who is perpetuating that. And the other question is, these are the ways right here that we're doing now that we break those chains. See, the most dangerous thing is a group of black men together talking and getting together and focusing. Oh, that's a dangerous thing for the powers that be, because they don't want that. That's why they focused on tearing that black family apart, because that served as a strong unit. Whether in poverty, no matter what year you go through, if a family had a father and mother that was in the home during those times when our people were under a lot of struggle, that family stayed together. And those children were able to spring off into some great things. There are so many successful black folk who have come from homes where the parents didn't have no riches. They had some morals and values. They stayed together and stuck together. Black man was there through thick and thin. Not that it was perfect, but that unit was there. That unit represents a strong fist, man. So that's the thing, is like gatherings like this. This is how we break that chain, because you're right. The media and everybody else, they project that image of this is who the black man is.
So how often is it that it's not always different races that put those stereotypes and labels on us, but it's our own people that say it about us? And what do we do about that when it's our own queens or our own wives or our own exes?
Let me just say, Jack, real quick.
What you got?
So let me say this, just to taking off that point, man. As we talked about how the black man wasn't allowed in the home, and that devalued him. So now they set up a situation where now we battling our queen for space in the working market, for space in this, and the value of how our queen looks at us as a provider, how our children looks for us as somebody there of strength in the household. So that is, you're so right about that. That is that's the ace card that they played, is I can get you to feud within your home, where the person that you fighting with the black woman and the black child is fighting with the whole family. Then I got you all distracted. So now I can take over the whole race, because you're not making each other strong. You're not speaking life into your spouse. You're not strengthening. So the powers that be could come from outside and pick us off then, because that's the thing. But you are so right. That's an excellent point. We battle so much within. Yeah. When you look in the city in terms of, in Illinois, we have the highest number of elected officials, and we are first. We have the highest number of black elected officials in Illinois, and we are first on every list you want to be last on, and last on every list you want to be first on. We got all these politicians around here that we've elected to put in, and the unity piece is not there. So it don't matter how many people you got elected. It's hard to win. How do we stop it? I don't know if it's one answer, but we start with groups like this.
Yeah, it's not one answer, but you know what? I like to start off with accountability. And so I can hold myself accountable, right? I can teach my kids and raise them with some values and ethics and morals, right? I can hold my cousins accountable. If you out there on that dumb stuff, as they say, I can hold them accountable. Uncle accountable, co-workers, or whatever the case may be. The people I know, may not be able to hold strangers, people I don't know, but they got cousins too. They got mamas and daddies and brothers and sisters too that should be holding them accountable. What they say, the Bible says charity starts where? It starts at home. Love starts at home. So you got to take care of home first, and then it spreads abroad. And so if everybody do their part in holding each other accountable, man, we can see some real progress. But we got to start doing that. We can't say, well, man, hey, no, cuz, he crazy. I'm just going ahead, I can't do no cuz. No, man, hold cuz accountable. Hold fam accountable.
That's right.
Man, say something to them. Like, look, you out here destroying. You out here making us look bad. You out here, you're not being productive in society. And then others is looking at you thinking that stuff is cool. Then they gonna sit here and do the same thing because they see what you doing is cool. So we gotta hold them accountable, man. It ain't easy. It's not easy. You may go into their argument, but you know what? If I can keep discussing with my family members, look, the right way to go, my thing is I'm doing my part, and I can just hope that a seed is planted. I can hope that a seed is planted. That somebody else can say the same thing to them, and that seed gets watered. And at the end of the day, look, God gonna give it the increase. So we gotta plant that seed, man.
Great point.
I want to keep it moving. I want to try to get through all the questions we have for the panelists. I'm gonna turn this back to you, Mr. Edward. As a black man in your own profession, what myths are placed on you, and how do you educate people about the truth?
I would say the same thing too, as far as like affirmative action. You know, like, how does this black man get to be in the courtroom? Who is he? Who put him on? Like, why does he deserve to be here? Is he smart enough? So that those type of questions, and you know, I feel that, but I think like once I get to talk to somebody, I get to talk to somebody that's in court, I get to talk to, I get to talk to a judge, then you know that mentality switches. It's like, okay, he's on point, he knows what he's talking about, and they begin to ask me questions about different things. So you know, I think before somebody meets you, you always, unfortunately, you're always gonna have some type of preconceived notion before you meet somebody. When somebody walks in the room, based on how they dress, how they look, how they wear, you're gonna, it's a bias that you already have just from life experiences. But I think that after you meet that person, those stereotypes that you continue to have, that's up to you. You know, like if I can meet a guy, you know, and I'll have a preconceived notion about them, but then like if I can talk to them and have conversation with them, then usually those things go away. But you know, I've experienced racism. You experience racism in the courtroom. You experience like, why does a certain judge talk to me a certain way, but then this white guy over here gets some more leniency, you know? But I really believe God makes room for you. Your gifts make room for you. And I really believe I've started to even like, before I became a lawyer, I'd be like, man, I would just pray before I go into court. And I would get so much favor from different people who never get favor before. So I really believe that helps with just shifting the atmosphere that you walk into. You want to make sure that every room you walk into, you walk in that authority, you walk in that dominion that God has given you. And so before I go into any arena, any courtroom, any place, I'm praying over it so that when I do walk in, it's already under control. So so those stereotypes that I do, you know, encounter in your profession, you know, it happens, but it's, you know, God is still in control.
How about you, Mr. Ty? What have you seen in your profession?
Man, one of the major stereotypes is you have to watch the black teachers.
We can't hear you, bro. Ty, you went out.
I know he's speaking some good stuff too. Come on. Yeah, I know he's speaking something good.
The major things pushed. Now, what didn't help it was we actually had, when we talk about accountability, we actually had teachers, grown men, dating students. So it made it even worse as an educator. But as my brother said, you know, you have to define yourself for yourself. And in your walk, I can't exist in everybody else's fantasy of who I am. I have to have my clear definition of Tyhimbo. So when I step into a classroom, when I'm speaking to students, no matter who they are, I speak with a certain level of authority and tone. I carry myself in a certain way. I'm very safe. I'm very careful about how I meet with children and those things. But one of the worst things for a black educator was this whole myth of black men around the young ladies. Because, and I want to say, let me not say myth, because in some instances, it's been true. Got to be real about that. I've seen situations, but you have to have your own definition. You have to, when you come in, you have to demand the authority to say, this is who I am. So I am not going to answer to or be victim to what your fantasies of me may be. I'm going to set the tone for me. But that's one of the most, that's one of the black clouds over black male educators, is that whole shadow of what's going on with the young ladies.
Yeah. How about you, Daniel?
Yeah, so me being in the training industry, me working in Cook County compared to some of my other counterparts, you know, in the southern part of Illinois, you know, it's almost as if supposedly they know more, right? Supposedly, you know, they can do better because they're in those smaller parts of, you know, Illinois, and we know who runs Illinois, right? So me, I have to dispel that by just being me, just being great. You know, so I've always been a hard worker. I've always been someone to try to please. You know, I've always been someone to always wanted to stand out and just do the work the right way, do things the right way. And so by me just being me. I'm always striving for excellence. And so I'm able to dispel some of that. Like, hey, Daniel got something to offer. Daniel is doing some things nobody else is doing. Daniel is making things happen, not just sitting back, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. There's a way around it. There's a way over it, under it, through it. And so when you have that work ethic in you, which I got from my parents, when you have that, I was fortunate to be raised, in a 2-parent household, that work ethic, it just carried with me. And so by them thinking, somebody from working in the Cook County area, because Cook County got a bad rap, right? And so we got to go over and beyond, and just so I work that much harder. I use that as fuel, to show them, no, you ain't the one. No, you ain't got it. It's right here.
Right.
It's right here. Well, and I don't brag. I don't, puff my chest out. It's just who I am. I do things in the spirit of excellence. So that's how you debunk those myths and, thinking that because maybe of my skin color or a certain geographical area where I'm from, that we're less than. No, we're equal. I want to say greater, but I'll settle for equal for you. Right. Get along with you,
Right.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I know there's other topics that we didn't hit on. I want you all to throw out other ones that you know about. I'm gonna throw out a couple. Black men in church, that a lot of them are said that if you go to church, you probably gay. Black men with money, how they can't control money. Black men that with women, how we always just use them and abuse them. Like, what are some other stereotypes that y'all have been either told or about that's been placed on us as black men?
I mean, they said black men don't cheat. Black men are cheaters. So black men cheat on their wife. Black men don't cheat.
You all are married.
Hey,
so they're right on back.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a.
You just got laughing. Like, really? Really?
It's so funny. Like, I hope people are joking, but it's like if you're a person that's gonna cheat, it doesn't matter what skin color you are. It doesn't matter what. Cheating is a personal thing because it's something that's not being satisfied within yourself. That you're looking, you're empty, and you're looking from that satisfaction from some other place. So it does. Right. It's actually not as much to do with your spouse than it has to do with how you are dealing with whatever's going on with yourself. Like, a lot of times men cheat because they don't feel satisfied with, their own life. They're not satisfied with their job. They're not satisfied with being pleased sexually from their spouse. Like, those are things that's kind of personal if you haven't relayed that to what's going on with your spouse. So, like, when I hear, like, black men don't cheat, like, I know it's to some degree it's a joke, but it's more so that's a personal thing. Like, it doesn't matter what skin color you are. But, I mean, what you said about a lot of gay people in church, I mean, it's gay people everywhere. Like, I'm not understanding why is it an issue? Because, like, a church is a hospital, So you got, I know people who kill people who didn't rape people didn't molested children, and all of them are in church. So for you to just isolate gay people when they want to know about God too. They want to get better. Like, I'm not perfect, so I'm in church because I want to get better. So for somebody to ostracize a group of people because they want to get better, what does that say about you? So
what's some other ones you heard, Ty? We can't hear you, bro. I think he's talking to us.
One of my issues, I want to bring this up, is I respect and honor people for their own choices in terms of what they choose in terms of their lifestyle. As a heterosexual male, I just don't like being bombarded with, I have to value that lifestyle in order to be seen as someone that can think. I'm not gay. I respect people, and they make their choices. I don't have time to have a hang up about, well, I can't associate with this person because they're not like me. But I find as a heterosexual male that I'm always bombarded with these questions of, are you, why don't you support this lifestyle? No, it's not that this is the lifestyle I live, and I don't feel I should be under indictment because I'm a heterosexual male. If you aren't, fine. Do you. Just do not let that, come into my arena. I've had, buddies that I've talked with who come out and said, yeah, man, I'm gay, and I'm like, that's got nothing to do with me. We can still relate as professionals, but I don't want to be bombarded with that all the time. Like I have to be under this litmus test with you to prove that I'm a gay advocate. No, man, I'm going to just be who I am. I'm going to respect you for who you are, and that's how we're going to walk this walk. But I've this bombardment, man, just been overwhelming. But I feel like everybody, everybody deserves. When you go to church, man, you there to get yourself structurally together. And even if not there for that, you there to give praise and give thanks for all the blessings. The fact that the Lord brought you here today, you woke up today. You
went out, bro.
Yeah, he went out.
Yeah, I don't even know if he knew he out.
All those things, because it's not one-dimensional. There's not one aspect that you're going to be great in and that's going to help you survive your whole marriage. You have to be able to be a communicator. You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to look at yourself and say, man, I came up short on that. Let me correct this situation. Because it is a true walk. It is not, it's not for the weak at mind. Marriage is definitely demanding. But I was blessed, man, and I know you brothers feel the same about your queens. I was blessed, man. At a time period when I had sworn off serious relationships, I was just going to be, when I met my queen, I was just going to be, you know what, I'm just going to just move around. And the day I said that, went to a party that night and met her. And my goodness, I'm laughing at God because I'm like, wait a minute, I just told you what I was on. He was like, no, let me show you this queen I got for you. See, I had her right here. And you talk about connection. It's crazy. We went down the street. I went to St. Rita. She went to Lindblom. We went right down the street from each other. Never met each other. Have some of the same friends. Never met. So the queen was around. What was happening was I had to get prepared for this queen because, God was like, hey, I got you. I'm gonna, you survived these. I got you, but you got to improve who you are before I reveal this queen to you. And I promise you, brothers, the day I had sworn off serious relationships, I ran into my wife, man, and it was just like, wow. I had never projected myself getting married, but man, and
now, there's something that you said in that right there.
Yeah,
there's something right there that you said. A lot of people feel like men are always the same and they'll never change. That once we a cheater, we always a cheater. Once a dog, always a dog. If you decided that you weren't going to settle down, you never could settle down. And that's something that's been placed on us as well, that we can't change, that we can't be trusted, that we don't adapt to relationships, that we can't mature. And I don't think that that's something that's been spoken about either, that Black men do change. And sometimes we aren't given a chance to see who we have become. Daniel, what's your point of view on this?
I mean, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. Yeah. Am I the same that I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20, 5 years ago, 2 years ago? No, you progress in life, you evolve. You learn. As you get older, you should be getting wiser. Your experiences should be teaching you something. And so sometimes people, see you for the potential, right? That's what the word potential is, right? Mm-hmm. Not where you want to be, but the potential is there. That's even with a job or a title, anything you get. You're not going to be great when you first start off. You evolve, you get better over time. You've been an educator. You were the best teacher or principal ever when you first started? No. But to progress. You was a lawyer. Were you the best? No. We're never at the level we're going to be when you first start. It's called progress. Change has to happen. And that's the only thing that is constant is change. It has to happen. So once you make up in your mind that you want to do better, man, that's with anybody. You can get better. Now, one thing I do want to defend is the church. Because when people come against my God, I get a little,
I see you get a little negative.
Hold on. I know the God that I serve. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have woke up today. So it's just that simple, you know. And so in every organization you have on this earth, you got some of everything. You're gonna have gangs. You're gonna have murderers, some drug addicts, whatever you have, or I'm gonna say ex murderers or ex rapists or ex, you know, you're gonna have that, you know. So where do you go? They supposed to be able to come to the church,
right,
to get spiritual healing, to get spiritual deliverance, you know, to become whole again, because there's only one entity that can make you whole again, right? And that's God. And so, yeah, you should have those in the church. If everybody is right in the church, what was the purpose of having one?
Right.
There is no, matter of fact, if everybody is perfect, then we don't need God. So you need to have the church to be able to draw those people in.
Yeah.
Everybody would have fall. You know, everybody that's trying to get better, everybody that's trying to grow, everybody that want to get past their past, right? Because you got to teach them forgiving themselves, because a lot of times God is forgiving you, and you got to learn how to forgive yourself. So you can move forward. You know, and so when it comes to the church, yeah, if you got everybody perfect in your church, something ain't right.
For real.
So you gotta have those people that's flawed.
The fact that they perfect.
Say that again.
I said are perpetrating the fact that they perfect.
Yeah, come on now. Come on. So yeah, so when it comes to the church, man, you're supposed to be able to draw those people in so they can progress in life, so they can learn how to forgive themselves, you know, ask for repentance, and kind of just start to rebuild themselves, you know.
So we got about 15 minutes left, and I want each person to talk about this as something, how have stereotypes or labels or myths affected you personally? When I was growing up, I was told that I wasn't able to learn at the same level as my peers. And that was a myth, and it wasn't true. But I was in an environment where I wasn't taught a way that I was able to catch on to a certain topic, or I wasn't able to accelerate on tests, do well on tests as well as others. So I was labeled as slower. What did that do to me personally? It made me feel like I wasn't good enough. It made me feel like I have low self-esteem. So it wasn't until I was older that I was able to say, I'm intelligent. Just because I'm black, it doesn't mean that I have some issue, some problem with me. So I had to learn how to break that out for me. But what did you all go through? What has stereotypes done to you personally?
Real quick, bro. Let me address that, Josh, what you said, why that's so important. Because so many of our children are put into those labels. A lot of that stuff is, like I said, it's systematic setup. Everybody learns in a certain way. And we've got this whole myth that if you aren't doing the same thing that every kid is doing at that time, somehow you're a lost cause. Educators are supposed to teach, not throw assignments at children and say, oh, I give my kids 2 hours of homework every night. If they cannot receive the concepts from that 2 hours, what is the 2 hours for? You want them to be able to receive the concepts. So you want to speak life into the kid who may be a slower reader, but awesome in math. You want to highlight that in him. Is he a comic book reader? Have him read from the comic books and create from there. You've got, as an educator, you got to meet that kid where he is. It is your job to meet that child where he is and project him forward. Those labels are put in place simply to make sure that this class of people, this group of people does not move ahead of this group of people. They have us so entangled in these, wrestled in these titles that the true educating the children, we miss it. We don't see the kid gifts. So he doesn't do things this way. We don't understand that he's an awesome artist. I have so many kids. I taught in Inglewood for years, and then I'll be finished just a second, Josh. In Inglewood for years, where all the children in Robeson High School where I taught, everybody come from a hard situation. But you're talking about the gifts that these kids had, who testing-wise were defined as, this kid is never going to be able to make A, B, and C. But this kid is an awesome artist. This kid can take a computer and take it apart and put it back. Tell me, if the kid has that skill, if they can sing a rap song from beginning to end and not miss a line or a verse or inflection, then that kid has value. And you need to educate that child from that point. And I had to address that, man, because as an educator, that's one of the things that has troubled me most, these clarifications and departmentalizing of kids we do and not realizing the true value of that child and what they have to offer the world.
So I'm talking about, bro.
That's good.
Yes.
Being in Chicago public schools, I liken it to like a jail mentality. So it was a jail mentality. It was like you go to school, like you don't know if you're gonna get in a fight, you're gonna get jumped on. You don't know, you're fighting over food because somebody is hungry and they want your food. So you're gonna get tested as a man. So you're gonna have to have a fight. And I even explaining that to people who didn't grow up in Chicago, you're like, really? No, every single day it was like a jail mentality. So how that affected me is I became a very angry person. Like I was I was always on guard. You hung around crowds because, that's your clique. And if they say you gang banging, then you gang banging because them the people that's going to help you get through the day. Them your people. So that made me really upset. But then the stereotypes that come along with that is you're not going to be nothing. You're not going to do anything. And then when I would tell people that I do want to be a lawyer, people would laugh. They would laugh. Like, you're not going to be that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you just joking. So that even my whole life, you had to process that. Like, and I recently even been dealing with the importance of mental health and therapy. It's important. When you grow up in Chicago, you deal with so much unresolved trauma that it affects you, your body and your mind in a different way when you realize that the way that you grew up is not normal. The things that you had to see and process as a young kid in your developmental stages were not normal for you as a human. You have to process that. Seeing people get killed, seeing people go to jail, seeing families being torn apart, like that's not normal for a child. So unpacking all that, it helps develop like, okay, this is a normal life. This is how I'm supposed to think. This is how I'm supposed to process. And having God, like in Christ, you are a new creature. So you are not that old person, that old mentality, that old way of thinking, that old mindset that you used to have. And so that helps you transform into being that new person. So like my whole life, you grew up one way. If you have years and years and years of experience of growing up one way, being a womanizer, being an abuser, using drugs, fighting, you get years and years and years of doing that. And then you say, okay, I want to know about God. You're not instantly going to be a Christian. You're not instantly, because I have years and years of growing up a certain way. I have to get therapy. I have to learn more about God. I have to surround myself with new people, and all that will help me be this new person now that you're able to walk into all the promises that God has for you. So those stereotypes that are spoken to you, we call them word curses, that you even come into agreement with, they affect you for years if you don't deal with them and you don't process and how to even be educated out of it.
That's what's up. What you got, Dan?
So yeah, for me is the image, the look. If you want this certain type of job or position, outside of sports, you had to look a certain way, dress a certain way, wearing the Brooks Brothers suits and things like that, no facial hair, you just had to have that so-called, I'm just white look. I'm gonna just say it, white look. And it's like, man, some positions I won't be able to get because I don't have that. I just don't have that look. I can't keep shaving all the time, because my hair keep growing back. I just didn't have that look. And over time, just being able to become more aware of who I am, what I am, whose I am, I was able to understand, God has a plan for me. What's for me is for me, and that I can get into any area I want to, because any door he opens for me, no man can shut. And so once I realized that, like, look, I'm going to, they say the exception to the rule. Well, okay, I'm just gonna have to be the exception to the rule. I had to understand it's not about the look. I can dress sharp, I like dressing sharp. I like looking nice. But as far as all the other stereotypes, certain suits and the certain look you gotta have, and your hair a certain way, solid color suits, the dark suits, all that, man, come on. I'm just gonna have to be the exception. Either you're gonna accept me or not. There were interviews I went on, you know, at one point in time, I was trying to get to a certain field, you know, and I was trying to do everything to conform, you know, to the way I need to look, the way I need to talk to get into that field, you know, and thank God, you know, that wasn't my path. You know, I couldn't get in, I couldn't break through that because that was not my path, you know, and so sometimes things are rejected because it's not for you, it's not in his will. But I had to be able to debunk, you know, had to be able to understand that, look, you are fine the way you look. You're fine the way you dress. You're fine the way you talk. You know, you have a purpose. And once I realized and found what that purpose was, you know, I got more confident. I was able to walk in it, you know, my head up, chest out, you know, and know my path. There's nothing more beautiful than knowing the path and walking the path that you're set to walk. You know, we struggle sometimes because we try to put ourselves in someone else's box, in someone else's lane. Everybody done heard the phrase, stay in your lane. You know, so you try to become someone you're not. That's where life struggles come in at. Man, once I realized that and knew what my purpose was, I started walking in it. I found my niche. Thank you, Lord. I can look the way you want me to look. I can dress the way you want me to look. I can be Daniel, who you created me to be. And so that's what I had to get over, those type of stereotypes.
Understanding your purpose is so important in life where you're just walking aimlessly. Yeah. Mr. Young, is there anything else? I don't know if you said one that personally affected you as any stereotype of myth that you hit on.
I guess, brother, I mean, along lines of what the other brother said, man, just the having a clear definition of self. Being able, once I understood who I was, once I began to think possible, once I began to believe, and once I began to understand that, you know, I am enough to achieve what's going on. And that, like you said, it's so important to understand your purpose. Once you're there, and as Daniel said, once you stop trying to walk in somebody else's walk, that's their walk. You have to decide what your walk is. And you walk strongest in that. You could be, there's a lot of things somebody can be greater than you at. They could be a better dresser. They could be a better speaker, a better basketball player, whatever it is. The one thing nobody should be able to beat you at is doing you and being you.
Yeah.
And once you define self, and as you said, you understanding who you are and whose you are, you can't be stopped then because you understand who you are. So what may come from society, what aspersions that are cast and all those things may come from society at you, you're equipped to deal with it because you have a clear definition of self. And that has been the biggest thing, is dancing to your own drum and understanding the importance of that. And what you have to bring to the world, nobody else can bring. You have a special code that fits into this whole ecosystem that you're supposed to bring. And when you realize the value in that, man, you get a true awakening of self, man. And you're able to walk in that shine no matter what anybody else is doing. You're comfortable in you.
Man, you all have been wonderful tonight. I really appreciate you coming on. Our time is about up, but just to follow up with all you all said, I appreciate you sharing your life, sharing your stories, sharing your experience, and helping to debunk myths and stereotypes that's been said about us. I think personally, if we're not sharing about our qualities, our gifts, our things that make us who we are with others, they don't know. They already are trying to erase our history from us. They're not sharing our schools with our kids. So unless we as men are helping others to understand who we are as positive men, others won't get it. So I challenge each man that's listening to this. This will be shared on YouTube videos, on Growing Men channel. This is something we do once a month. Next month, we'll be challenging other men to talk about last month on Father's Day weekend. There was 103 people that were shot and killed. And we want to talk about that. How is that happening in our community? And what are we doing to stop that from happening? So our kids won't be following in this same trend and something won't happen. We need to step up and do something before it happens to one of our own family members. So that's going to be the next discussion that we talk about on this segment. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys coming on. You will be able to find this YouTube video in the next couple of days. I'll share it with each one of you all. Thanks again for coming on, and you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks for having us,
brother. Hey, good meeting y'all, brothers, man. Good talking today, man.
Excellent, man. Great day today. Learned a lot.
Wonderful. Also, Ty, you got to join us on the page, bro. These are all part of the same group, so I'm gonna send you an invite as well.
Oh, no doubt, bro. No doubt.
If you all have any topics that you all would like to talk about in the future, please let us know. This is something we're going to go forward doing.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good night, y'all.
All right, till next time. Thanks, y'all.
Have a good one. God bless.